I am going to be using the Undesirable Medical Advertisements Ordinance, and I will be using Section 3b, Subsection 1 and Subsection 2 to illustrate what I mean by cross-referencing issues. So let's read it out. So 3b is about the prohibition of ads relating to certain consumed products. So in our case, we would be mainly concerned with medications. So for example, I just start reading here. No person shall publish or cause to be published an ad for an orally consumed product which makes for the product a claim specified in column 1 of Schedule 4. So here we go. So you're sort of reading along and all of a sudden you're like, what on earth is Schedule 4? What is Schedule 4? So in this case, I mean, you could carry on reading, but it would also make sense if you actually want to look up Schedule 4. And then, of course, what you could do is just, so this is the digital sidebar, which is the table of contents, and you could just scroll down to the bottom and then click on Schedule 4, and that will take you to Schedule 4. So if you do that, so I'll just do that here. And that will take you to Schedule 4, and then you can look at it and go, oh, okay, it's saying, for example, you're not allowed to advertise any drugs, or not allowed to advertise anything that can say it can prevent or eliminate or treat breast lumps, for example, and you can carry on reading down. So now you know what Schedule 4 is about, and then when you want to go back, you might be like, oh, now I've forgotten where I was reading, and then you might have to spend some minutes or some time to work out where it was you left off. I mean, this particular example, I know what I'm doing, but very often when you're sort of reading casually and you're not in the mood to sort of remember back and forth where you'd left off, one thing you can do is open the same page on another tab, and instead of going back and forth on the same window, you go back and forth on the other window. So you can go Schedule 4, and then you can go back and forth between the two. So I think that's a good tip for people who get really frustrated with all this cross-referencing, especially when they're referring to something that you haven't read yet. Actually, there's many cases where they'll refer to a section that you have read and you won't remember it because you don't remember what numbers all these sections are, right? So this is just a good way of going back and forth between different sections in order to work out what they're talking about. So here's another example, subsection number 2, where Section 3, Subsection 1 does not apply to advertisements by blah, blah, blah. So again, we can just go to our other window and we can go to Section 3, and there we have 3, Subsection 1, and then we can go back and forth between the two windows, so you don't have to scroll back and forth and lose your place.